My name is Kurt Nørmark, and I'm an amateur nature photographer in Denmark. I have a lot of videos on YouTube about our local nature, birds, animals, deers, and so on. As a wildlife photographer and videographer, I'm often having the dilemma, should I shoot video or should I take still photos? Or maybe both. So in this video, I'll discuss if it is possible to extract decent still images from a video. What I call extracting the golden frames from a video file. So let me outline the context of the video. The motive is wildlife, so animals or birds. I use a lens with a long focal length from 300 to 600 millimeter. I happen to use a Micro Four Third Olympus gear, not least because I can carry it on when I walk and when I bike in the forest. There's only little light. Typically, we are close to sunset. And I have typically only little or no time to unfold a tripod. If I spend time on the tripod, the animals or the birds may have disappeared before I'm ready. And I often need videos because I edit a lot of films where video is necessary. Let me also briefly mention that I use DaVinci Resolve for video editing, VLC, which is here in the background, for video playing, and as many others I use Lightroom Classic and or Photoshop for photo editing. I'll show some examples of captured video frames and photos from forest in Denmark, and the subject is red deer. What we see here is a captured video frame of a red deer, and the next as well is the same animal crossing the road before it disappears in the forest. So both of these are captured video frames, and in my opinion they are worthwhile to keep. In fact, I like them very much. Especially the last one, which just captures the moment where the deer is disappearing with a lovely background. We can show the video file from which these frames are captured. As you can see, it's handheld with some shake. And here the deer is crossing where I captured the frame, and it disappears in the forest. For comparison, I will show a couple of ordinary photos from the same evening. The first one is without denoising, and the next one is denoised in Lightroom in order to get rid of some of the sensor noise due to a high ISO. Here's another example. It's also a herd of red deers, and the first picture is a frame from a video. I like this moment a lot. The animals have probably just discovered me, and they're looking up, trying to find out what's going on. I like the composition. I like the colors. But a frame from a video. The next one is a real photo. It has actually been enhanced a bit by denoising. The composition is not as good as the video frame. I could probably easily get the same colors if I wanted to. It may be interesting also to see a video sequence from the same day. Here I show a flat, unprocessed video sequence. It is taken from a tripod, and therefore it is steady. And it works well because the animals are not moving a lot. So I had time to unfold the tripod that day before the animals found out that I was there. And yet another example from a summer evening where I'm lucky to get rather close to the animals. First, we have a video footage. We observe that I'm shooting handheld this evening. There are lots of animals around. Next, we see a captured video frame from one of the video files. And finally, a still photo, which I also took this evening. We see that the shutter speed is 1/160th of a second. My experience is that it would make sense to go a little higher in the shutter speed. Something like 1/300 or 400th of a second. This will lead to a higher ISO, of course, but it can be battled by the denoise facilities in many photo systems today. Finally, a late evening, very little light, foggy conditions. These two animals come out of nothing. I start video recording, and back home I managed to capture two nice frames from the video. I like these photos a lot because of the atmosphere, the fog, the low light. The grain in the pictures does not matter, in my opinion. They just add to the feeling and the atmosphere of the scene. Let me outline the conditions for wildlife still photography in low light. First, we use a long focal length in order to get close to the action. Next, we will need to have full aperture in order to compensate for the low light, fast shutter speed in order to freeze the action, and or to compensate for handheld capturing, and this also leads to high ISO. It makes sense to use continuous photo mode, burst mode, in order to capture many pictures, and it is essential to shoot in RAW format, not least in order to deal with sensor noise due to the high ISO. Similarly, the premises for wildlife videography in low light are the following. Again, a long focal length, a telephoto lens. We use the highest possible resolution and a high bit rate in the camera. Full aperture in order to deal with the low light. The shutter speed is bound by frame rate, so the shutter speed will typically be 1/60th of a second. And it leads to a medium ISO. Not as high as in photography, because our shutter speed is slower than in photography. We need to discuss the role of tripods in relation to capturing golden frames. I would love to bring my big, heavy tripod that carries a fluid video head, but it is far too heavy and far too long for me to bring into the forest. So therefore, I bring my small 1 kilogram carbon tripod which fits in the backpack. This tripod, however, only has a primitive head, which does not allow me to follow moving animals. For our purposes, a simple tripod without a video head is good for static scenes where the animals do not move too much. It's bad for moving subjects because I cannot trace them. Anyway, such a tripod prevents video shake, which is very attractive when it comes to film. In comparison, handheld shooting is good for scenes with motion. So if the animal moves, I can move the camera and thereby follow the animal. And in such a setup, I can be lucky that there are a few golden frames which I can capture. Handheld shooting is of course bad for static scenes because it introduces shake, so video shake. So if it comes to the video quality, a tripod will always be preferred. The post-processing workflow I use is the following. I use VLC for video playing. I grab still images from VLC. It's very easy to grab still photos from VLC. It's harder if you are doing the similar thing in DaVinci Resolve. And photo editing is in Lightroom or maybe Photoshop if necessary. When it comes to processing, the first step is color correction. I use a rather flat profile in my video, so I must tweak the colors somewhat. The next is cropping, and then comes sharpening. This depends on the sharpening in your camera, but I need a fair amount of sharpening to get the captured frame look good as photos. And then comes noise processing. Unfortunately, it is not possible to do the heavy new AI denoise on the captured images. This is only available in RAW format. Here's the last example before we conclude the discussion. It is a sunny day, there are lots of light, and I encounter this roe deer in the forest. I first show a video snap from the video footage, and next a still photography of the same animal just a few seconds later. It's interesting to compare these two photos, the frame captured and the real photo. If we pixel peep these two side by side, it is clear that the photo is the winner. There's much more detail in the ears, for example, and around the eyes. This setting is not typical for me. I'm most often around in the forest when there's little light, close before sunset or early in the morning. But for the sake of our discussion here, it is interesting to see the difference between real photography in good light condition and the similar captured video frame. And let me now conclude. You cannot beat a good still photo, which is processed and which is taken in RAW format. This is not possible. But a captured video frame will, in some circumstances, be a good and viable alternative and rather close to the quality of a photo. Often I can capture a good motive in a good moment, in an interesting composition, especially if there are plenty of golden frames available. It may be more difficult to have the similar thing happen with still photos. And in addition, as a substantial bonus, I have the video sequence available for my films. So in some sense, I try to get the best of both worlds. If the video is shaky because of the handheld capturing, I may attempt some video stabilization. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your attention.